Howdly, hey YouTube, I'm back with 5 things to take a look at. It's been a while. It took me a while to get through this stuff. I feel like I'm kind of in a spin cycle of I don't really know what's going on. Like I'm not really getting much done. But maybe we can turn things around in the new year a bit here. I've got a bit of a cold too, so I might sound funny. And before I get started, I just want to thank my best friend Chloe for getting me this shirt. Bob Noxious, a local band here. They're amazing, and they're a lot of fun on the back. Cheers, fuckers. Yeah. She got the shirt a long time ago, I think, and didn't really know much about them, but liked the shirt because of the Cheers, fuckers, and held on to it. And then when I mentioned Bob Noxious a few times, she was like, "Oh, here, have this." So, shout out to my dog Chloe. Now, we're gonna get into these 5 things, and this first one is a book, and it's been so long since I finished it because, like I said, it took me a long time to get through this, all this stuff. My memory may not be as sharp as it should be on the details of this book, but anyways, it is Star Wars: The High Republic, Quest for the Hidden City. This is part of that whole High Republic series they have going on now. This is one of like the more junior novels. They have these different levels of them, right? But all the stories link together, so I like to read them all, of course. Now, in this one, we've already met a lot of the characters in this book and experienced some of the adventures that took place after this story, because I'm just kind of buying them as I find good prices on the books, and I don't know where they all fall in the timeline, so I'm just kind of taking them one at a time and seeing what happens, sort of thing. So in this book, Das and his father, I forget his father's name, but anyways, they are part of the hyperspace, the guys that chart hyperspace lanes in the outer reaches, so they're always trying to find new ways to get to different planets and stuff. And they were on a prospecting mission to some world with some partner, I forget his name, and he left them high and dry after they found what they needed, and he dumped Das and his father on this strange planet where nobody else seemed to be, except a bunch of monsters that only came out at night. So we flash to a different part of the galaxy, and 2 fellows named Cam and Amos, some communications engineers with the Republic, discover the wreckage of one of these Pathfinder droids. So Pathfinder teams are teams of Jedi and pilots and medics and stuff like that that go out into the galaxy and discover new planets, make contact with the populations, teach them about the Republic, try and take them in and help them in any way they can, sort of thing. So this droid belonged to a Pathfinder team, and it was all broken down, and they tried to repair it and find out what was going on with it. They find out the team that this droid was assigned to, and they're like, this droid should be with this team, but it's not, and it's all broken down. Like, what the hell happened, right? So they call for another Pathfinder team, the closest one in the area, and these are 2 characters we've met before, Shalandra Show and her Padawan Rupert Natani. So they are the Jedi Pathfinder team called into action. So they end up being steered towards a planet called Albadas, something like that. And upon landing, there's nobody really there, but they explore a bit, and then they do run into a species called the Catacoot, who are like walking bat creatures, sort of things. And they after kind of winning them over a little bit, the Catacoots explain to these Jedi and their companions that yes, your Pathfinder team was here. They offered aid and promises that the Republic couldn't hope to keep, and unfortunately they've perished. They went off to help try and solve our problem, but we think they're all dead, sort of thing. So they're like, well, what's your problem? Power is our problem, as in power to generate their cities and stuff, not power like, oh, I'm up here and I'm a powerful politician or whatever, but actual power to power devices and cities and all the equipment it needs. They have a sister planet called Gloam, which they used to mine to come up with the materials they need to power their other planet, Albadas. But the problem is the mining process was very dangerous, and it ended up actually polluting Gloam so badly that it would cause the miners to get this kind of sickness where they would turn into these weird kind of creatures, and that's what these monsters are on Gloam. These are these creatures, these former catacoots that have mined too much and have suffered this sickness from the mined materials. So Rupert and Shalandra are like, well, we got to get to Gloam and see if we can find if our fellows are still alive. So they go there, and they end up, of course, facing down the monsters that are there. They end up finding Das and his father and rescuing them, and they end up bringing about some sort of resolution to the problem, sort of thing. So, pretty good book. I like the Das and his dad, and I like the team of Salandra and Rupert. They seem to be pretty good characters. And I've mentioned it before, these High Republic books, depending on the author, they really seem to be dialed into the whole woke vibe that's going on these days. And like every possible issue going on in the world right now is brought into some of these stories. This book didn't have any of that crap. So it was just a straight up story, you know, no political agenda or anything like that. When I read books like that, it kind of makes me sick. It's like, just write a Star Wars story. If there's going to be a gay couple, great. If there's going to be this or that, great. But don't make everybody something. You know what I mean? It's just like they're just pushing stuff. And that kind of annoys me. Like, just let things be. Just let people be what they want to be, and don't always be pushing it. You know what I mean? So, it's just my opinion. People may disagree with it, but you're allowed to have an opinion. Woke people will say you're not, but you are. You are, kids. Next up, all the rest is video games. This video game was recommended to me by my buddy Simon that I play video games with all the time, or my Bill 69 buddy. And he loves the horror and creepy type games. And so he recommended this to me. And it's pretty short, so I played through it pretty quickly. And it is a digital game, so I don't have a hard copy. But the game in question is Little Nightmares. And I didn't mention it before, but that book, Quest for the Hidden City, was from just a couple years ago, 2022. So it's a recent book. All the High Republics are fairly recent. But anyways, back to Little Nightmares. This game was released originally, I think, in 2017. And it's a very short game, like I said, but I didn't really realize the character's name and stuff like that until I read up on the game after I finished playing it. So basically the game starts off, you control this little, what looks like a little child. You can't tell if it's a boy or a girl. They're barefoot. They have this yellow kind of rain slicker on, and they wake up in this weird environment, like looks industrial, you know, industrial building basement with pipes and dripping water and leaky and dark and creepy. And you start making your way through these environments, and eventually you learn you're inside some sort of underwater ship or structure or whatever. And as you go through the game, it's kind of like a platformer, but also puzzle. You gotta move things around and find keys and find ways to do things, all the while avoiding the enemies in the game. So there's characters in the games that aren't enemies. There's these little gnomes, they look like, with these little pointed hat head things, that your character will get hungry every once in a while, and you can find food, and sometimes the gnomes will offer you food. The one time they offered me food and I ate the gnome instead, that was kind of depressing. But there are characters in the game that you don't fight, they're just kind of there. But the characters in the game that are the enemies, they're these weird, you can't even explain it. There's these really puffy, weird looking characters. Some of them have like really long arms and really short legs, and they are little nightmares. Like it is some strange shit. It looks like some Tim Burton stuff going on in this game. And there's also this it looks like a Japanese lady with a kimono and a little mask on. I think she's the ultimate villain in the game, even though you beat her kind of more halfway through the game. But yeah, you got to solve all these puzzles and make your way through the game, all the while avoiding these freaks that are after you. As soon as they see you, you're screwed, sort of thing. So because you can't fight back really. Yeah, so you just make your way through these levels, figure out all the puzzles, avoid all the enemies, and eventually you escape, and you find you're in some sort of underwater base sort of thing where all these freaks live, and you open up the door to a sunshiny, watery day. So like I said, it's very short, but a lot of fun and quite challenging at times. A lot of the game, it's like, okay, whatever, but it does get a little bit challenging here and there, and is a really fun game. There is a Little Nightmares 2 I haven't played yet, and they are working on a Little Nightmares 3 right now. My buddy Simon has played 1 and 2, and he loves them. So probably eventually I will get number 2 at some point. So anyways, I wouldn't overpay for this game because, like I said many times, it's very short. So I wouldn't pay like 40, 50 bucks for it or something. I'd pay maybe 20 at the most, or cheaper if you can find it for cheaper. But it's definitely worth the play regardless. So next up, a game that should possibly win Game of the Year, but I don't think that it did. Spider-Man 2. This game is awesome. 2023, Insomniac released it, and it's a direct follow-up, of course, to the original Spider-Man game, and then the follow-up to that game, Spider-Man Miles Morales. I think it said it takes place 10 months after the events of Miles Morales, and it kind of picks up as Peter and Miles are getting on with their life after the events of the last game. They're trying to figure out how to work as a team and how they're going to approach both being Spider-Man and also what's going on in their personal lives. Miles is trying to apply to get into a special school, and he's got to balance all that with fighting crime in the city. Meanwhile, Peter is deciding what to do with Aunt May's house because he's kind of moved into it, and he's got all this stuff he's got to get rid of, while also trying to... He's asked Mary Jane to move in with him, but she says she can't move away from the city and where she's close to her job. So there's a bit of strife going on within their relationship. So it's kind of balancing their personal lives with their new Spider-Man kind of partnership sort of thing. So early in the game, Sandman shows up as kind of the first villain, but that sequence is somewhat quick. And then we get into the main part of the game where the main two bad guys come into play. On one hand, we have Kraven the Hunter, who brings a team of his hunters to the city, basically takes over, and he's hunting all of these superpowered villains. He wants to hunt them and defeat them, and I think he's trying to gain their powers as well, something like that. So throughout the game, we see like Scorpion, Mysterio, Doc Ock makes a quick cameo, and there's a bunch of others too. Not that she's a villain, but Black Cat shows up. So there's lots of cameos from other superheroes and supervillains throughout the game. But Kraven is the main bad guy on one front. The other main bad guy is Venom. So Harry Osborn is being kept alive by Norman Osborn because Harry has that terminal condition, and they're doing it by using this symbiote that they found to keep Harry alive. So eventually the symbiote, after a battle, Peter Parker actually dies, but the symbiote attaches to him and brings him back to life, saves his life. And Peter wears the suit for a while, and the longer he wears it, the more of an asshole he turns into. And so he eventually gets the willpower to shed the suit, and Harry's like, Pete, you got to give me this suit, like I'm dying now that I don't have it. And but after seeing what it did to Peter, like Peter's like, Harry, you can't wear this, like it's going to corrupt you, even though it's going to keep you alive, you're going to turn into a monster, right? And Harry gets pissed off, of course, but he eventually gets his hands on the suit and he becomes Venom. So on one front, Peter and Miles are fighting Kraven. On the other front, they're fighting Venom and trying to save Harry and find another way to help him out, sort of thing. So you've got those two fronts throughout the game, and you've also got two fronts on your own to deal with. You can switch between Miles and Peter pretty much anytime you want. Some of the story is only applicable to one character, so you'll switch over to the one you need to play with through that part of the story. But for the most part, you can use whoever you want, sort of thing. The rest of the game works pretty much the way the other ones did. Like, you can unlock new suits, new gadgets, upgrades to your gadgets. All that stuff is still in there. They've just taken what they did in the first two games and just kind of expanded on it and made it better and made it more, with the two characters you can use, that sort of thing. Changed things a little bit and made it better, sort of thing. So amazing game. James was pissed off that it didn't win Game of the Year because it really should have. It's an amazing game, and there's a lot to do in it, but it doesn't take forever to play. It takes a long time. Like it'll keep you busy if you want to do all the bonus stuff, but it's not like a forever game like Assassin's Creed that I'm playing right now. That's going to take me forever. Whereas Spider-Man feels like it has a lot of that open world extra content sort of thing, but it's just New York, not all of England, like in Assassin's Creed, right? So it seems big and it seems like there is a lot to do, and there is, but it's not like going to take you forever to do it, right? So it's a really good game. Loved every minute of it, just like I did the first two. Next up, another digital game I downloaded. You've probably seen the footage. Originally released in 2014 as a point-and-click game, I believe I read. Five Nights at Freddy's. I've heard about this game for so long, and I remember when James was just a little guy, and all the kids at school always had the little figurines of the Five Nights at Freddy's things, and I was like, whoa, those look cool because they look so freakish, but I had no idea what it was. Then when I got a gift card for PlayStation for Christmas, we were looking through and getting stuff, and James had gone to see the movie with his friends. He's like, you should get Five Nights at Freddy's, and I'm like, oh, it's only $11. Okay, so I bought the first two of them and started playing it, and literally the premise behind it is that you are hired as a night security guard at a restaurant, a popular pizza chain called Freddie Fazbear's Pizza. Freddie Fazbear's is much like, what Chuck E. Cheese is. You got this big restaurant with these games and stuff, but it's the animatronic characters that are on the stage that keep the kids all, ugh. So this pizza parlor has that sort of vibe going on. And it's called Freddie Fazbear's Pizza because the main animatronic animal is a bear called Freddie Fazbear. You also have Chica, who's like a bird, and then Bonnie the bunny, and then Foxy, the pirate fox. So you're hired on as the night watchman at this pizza shop. And so when I had no idea, it didn't really have any instructions when you started the game. I had no idea what I was getting into. So when the game fires up, you're sitting in your security office, and there's a door on the right, there's a door on the left, there's a desk in front of you, whatever. And so I'm like trying to move my character, like, okay, I want to go out into the hallway. Like, I'm trying the L stick, the R stick, like R2, L2 for, whatever. And nothing's working, right? So I finally looked it up. And so what the game is you have a limited amount of electricity to get you through 6 hours. So it starts at 12 a.m. midnight, and you got to make it through till 6 a.m. So the animatronic animals at night are left on a free roam mode so that their servos and stuff don't seize up. So these animatronic creatures are just roaming around the pizza joint. The only problem is if they see a human, they'll try and stuff them inside of a suit and kill them, right? Sort of thing. So you got to be on the ball. So like I said earlier, before I got into that little sidebar, you have a limited amount of electricity available to power the various equipment you have in this security office. So you can power a light on each doorway. So like the open doors, it's darkness beyond. So you have a light so you can see what's going on out in the hallway. You can close the doors, and you can also access a camera system, which will show you what's going on in each room in the restaurant. So the problem is, each time you use one of these features, especially if you have more than one going at once, it really drains your electricity a lot faster. So you've got to be really, really, what's the term I'm looking for? You got to be a curmudgeon when it comes to spending your electricity. You got to be sparse with it. So if you use it too much, you're going to run out of power well before 6 a.m. and the doors will just stay open, and the freaks will come in and get you, sort of thing. So you've really got to get used to the tendencies of the creatures and the sounds you hear, like footsteps in the hallway. One of them laughs. You got to figure out what these things mean, and really only use the stuff when you know you have to, sort of thing. And if you can make it through to 6 a.m., you move on to the next night, which gets progressively harder, and then until you've made it through all 5 nights in the game, and you win the game. So it's nuts. On this game, I got through eventually the first 3 nights on my own, but then on night 4, I was like, no, there's no way. Like, there's literally no way. I don't know who beats this. So the game does come with some cheats. So you can either turn on like unlimited power or fast nights, and there's one other one, I forget what it is. So I chose to do unlimited electricity, but I didn't just close the doors and wait for the night to be over. I actually played it legitimately, and I think it did take me a few times to get nights 4-on-5 out of the way. But you know, I played them just like I would with unlimited power, because like I said, it was impossible. Like in night 4, your electricity drained so fast. Sometimes it would just drop 10% all of a sudden for no reason. You'd be like, what the fuck? Like, how am I going to beat this night? If you've watched my videos, you can hear me barking about it, of course. But really interesting premise to the game. I thought it's a really neat idea where you're just in this room and you have this limited supply and you just have to manage things. It's like a really quick thinking kind of, okay, boom, 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 right, sort of thing. Really interesting premise for a game, and also a really cool visual display for this game. Like, these creatures are so neat looking and so freakish that it's just it's a lot of fun to play and experience. So really great game. And apparently there's 9 games in the series. I only thought I saw 4 or 5, but I might get the first 4 or 5 and that's about it, but we'll see. We'll see how number 2 goes. I'm in the middle of it right now and it's not going so well. So maybe I'll cut my losses at 2. Anyways, last thing up, another game for the PS5 released in, oh, I forget when this one was released. Actually, it was 2023. It's a recent release, sorry. Bud Spencer and Terrence Hill, Slaps and Beans 2. Wait. Oh. Gah. Getting sick. I saw this game on a new release email from GameStop and I was like, that looks so cool. Like, I saw the cover for the game and I really liked how it looked. And then so I went through and did some screenshots and I looked at the graphics and it reminded me of like a 90s era PC game or something with some really distinct graphics that remind me of that kind of era. And I was like, that looks really cool. It looks like a lot of fun. So I put it on my Christmas list and lo and behold, I got it. And I don't know exactly what happened in the first Slaps and Beans. I've since downloaded it and plan on playing it. But we started with number 2 and then we're gonna go backwards. So apparently this game picks up right at the end of the first game. Bud and Terrence, or Slaps and Beans, as they're called, are stranded in Africa somewhere. And they need to find a way home. So they find this guy that's driving a bus full of orphans that's kind of broken down on the side of the road. And they go to offer him help, but these shady guys, these that are trying to shake the driver down, show up, and Slaps and Beans beat the shit out of them, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna pay for that," and they're like, "Whatever." So Slaps and Beans help the driver reunite the orphans and take them back to the village, blah blah blah, and they're like, "Yeah, you can get home, you can get to wherever. You just need to take the barge full of bananas to the mainland and whatever, or wherever they have to go to try and get home." So turns out these bananas are being stolen from the farmers that are producing them and are being used in some sort of plot by a villain named Black Tiger. So Slaps and Beans, as much as they want to get home, they end up just getting caught up in this scheme by accident, and they have to impersonate like I think police officers or special agents or something like that. And with each level, they get further and further into the plot and can't get out. So eventually, they just have to take Black Tiger down and save the day, sort of thing. So it's just pure side-scrolling beat 'em up action. It does have some mini games that you can also play off the menu on their own. One of them is like a card game, a weird card game. Oh, I'm so tired. One of them is like this weird sports game you can play. It's kind of almost like squash or racquetball, but remember as kids there were those plastic scoops that you had a handle on and there was a ball in it and you'd fling them at each other. It almost looks like that. So you bounce it off the wall and the other team has to catch it and throw it, and whoever misses it, the other team gets the point, sort of thing. That was really fun. There's like a fan boat bomb challenge. Like, there's all sorts of stuff. It's really neat. So you play these mini games throughout the game as they come up in the levels in order to progress. And I think overall, I don't remember how many levels there are, but there's a map where you see yourself making the progress through the game. There's at least 8 or 9, I think, total levels, maybe 10. And and there's lots of weapons to pick up, and you can throw them, you can beat people with them. The frying pan's my favorite. Just bong right on top of the head and hearing that metallic clang. That's a lot of fun. James didn't enjoy it so much. I really had to coax him into playing it with me. But so I'll probably play the first one on my own. But I loved it. I knew I was gonna love it as soon as I saw the graphics in the theme of it in that email, and I did thoroughly enjoy it. I'm actually still playing it right now. You're gonna see probably a few more videos of it after this, just because I'm going through to replay some of the levels because there's quite a few trophies that are very attainable, and I always like to try and get as many as I can that are easily within reach sort of thing. So I always do, well, not always, but most times I'll do like a mop up operation to get any of those easy trophies sort of thing. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm actually uploading one of those videos tonight, or no, I'm not posting this until tomorrow. So I uploaded it last night. So, but there will be at least a few more to come probably as I clean up all those trophies. So yeah, that's the 5 things I did. I better stop talking before my voice gets even more ratty. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully next time it doesn't take nearly as long for me to get through some stuff. But like I said, I'm at a weird place in my life right now. I'm spinning my wheels. Everything seems weird and boring and like it's a pain in the ass. But we all go through our funks. Hopefully I can get out of this one soon, and I'll be back at you with some more good shit. Meow.